In the dust-baked village of Al-Ajah, near the Tigris River in northern Iraq, a boy was born into fear, violence, and ambition. His name was Saddam Hussein Abd al-Majid, and from the moment he entered the world in 1937, survival would be his first lesson. His father died, or vanished, before Saddam was born. Some said he was murdered, others said he abandoned the family. His mother, Subha Tulfa al-Musalit, was devastated by loss and poverty. Overwhelmed and depressed, she tried to end her pregnancy. When that failed, she attempted suicide. Saddam survived both her despair and the brutal conditions of rural Iraq, a land ruled by tribal loyalties and unforgiving power structures. As a child, Saddam was sent to live with his uncle, Khairul Tulfa, a fierce Arab nationalist who had been imprisoned for participating in a failed coup against the Iraqi monarchy. Khairul filled the boy's mind with stories of betrayal, colonial humiliation, and the need for absolute strength. Weakness, he taught, was a crime. Mercy was a mistake. Power was everything. Saddam learned early that fear commanded respect, and that respect could keep you alive. A boy who learned to strike first. Saddam's youth was marked by violence. He grew up watching beatings, blood feuds, and public humiliation. When his stepfather later abused him, Saddam responded not with tears but with rage. At just 10 years old, he threatened the man with a knife and fled the house. He arrived in Baghdad illiterate, poor, and angry, but determined. The city was chaos, coups, assassinations, revolutions. Iraq in the 1950s was a nation searching for identity after centuries of Ottoman rule and decades of British interference. Radical ideas spread like wildfire, and among them was Baathism, a political ideology combining Arab nationalism, socialism, and authoritarian control. Saddam joined the Ba'ath Party as a teenager. He wasn't a brilliant student or a charismatic speaker, but he had something far more valuable: absolute loyalty and a talent for intimidation. In 1959, when Saddam was only 22, he participated in an assassination attempt against Iraq's leader, Abdul Karim Qasim. The plot failed. Saddam was shot in the leg and barely escaped, fleeing first to Syria and then to Egypt. He did not see the failure as defeat. He saw it as rehearsal. From prisoner to power broker. Saddam returned to Iraq after another coup in 1963, only to be arrested and imprisoned. For most men, prison would have broken their spirit. For Saddam, it became a classroom. He studied power. He watched how guards responded to threats and rewards. He learned which men could be bought, which could be frightened, and which had to be eliminated. When he escaped prison in 1966, reportedly disguised as a woman, his legend inside the Ba'ath Party grew. By 1968, the Ba'athists seized control of Iraq. Saddam, still young and officially holding minor titles, quickly became the most feared man in the government. While President Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr gave speeches, Saddam controlled the security services, the secret police, and intelligence agencies. He built a web of surveillance so dense that even ministers feared their own shadows. Conversations were recorded. Friends reported on friends. Brothers betrayed brothers. Saddam understood something crucial: terror works best when it is invisible but ever-present. By the mid-1970s, Iraq was rich with oil money, and Saddam used it brilliantly. He funded schools, hospitals, highways, and universities. Illiteracy dropped. Life expectancy rose. To many Iraqis, Saddam was not a monster, he was a modernizer, a strongman who stood up to foreign powers. But behind the progress lay terror. The day fear became law. In 1979, Saddam Hussein officially became president of Iraq. Within days, he summoned hundreds of party members to a grand hall. The meeting was filmed. Cigarette smoke hung in the air. Saddam calmly announced that traitors had been discovered within the Ba'ath Party. One by one, names were read aloud. Each man stood, shaking, and was dragged away as others, terrified, were forced to applaud. Many of those taken were executed within hours. Others disappeared forever. Saddam himself sometimes pulled the trigger. The message was unmistakable: absolute loyalty or death. From that moment on, Iraq was Saddam Hussein. His portraits filled the streets. He compared himself to Nebuchadnezzar, the ancient Babylonian king. He commissioned novels glorifying his life, poems praising his courage, and songs celebrating his wisdom. Children memorized his speeches. Statues of him towered over cities. Yet beneath the propaganda, Saddam was preparing for war. The war that devoured a generation. In 1980, Saddam invaded Iran, believing the newly formed Islamic Republic was weak after its revolution. He expected a quick victory. Instead, he triggered an 8-year nightmare. The Iran-Iraq War consumed over 1 million lives. Trenches filled with young men. Chemical weapons were unleashed. Cities burned. Saddam used poison gas not only against Iranian soldiers but against his own Kurdish population, most infamously in Halabja, where thousands of civilians suffocated in the streets. To the world, Saddam was becoming a villain. To his supporters, he was defending Iraq from religious extremism. To himself, he was proving that no cost was too high. When the war finally ended in 1988, Iraq was exhausted, deeply in debt, and armed to the teeth. Saddam needed money. And he needed an enemy. The gamble that shook the world. In August 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. He believed the world would protest but ultimately accept it. He miscalculated. Within months, a US-led coalition launched Operation Desert Storm. Iraqi forces were crushed. Highways became graveyards of burned tanks and bodies. Saddam's army collapsed, but Saddam survived. He emerged defiant, declaring victory simply because he remained alive. Inside Iraq, however, rebellion erupted. Kurds in the north and Shia Muslims in the south rose up. Saddam responded with overwhelming brutality. Helicopters strafed cities. Mass graves filled the deserts. Sanctions followed. For the next decade, Iraq was strangled economically. Children starved. Hospitals lacked medicine. Infrastructure crumbled. Saddam lived in palaces while the nation suffered, but he refused to bend. He believed endurance itself was triumph. The fall of the statue. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq, claiming Saddam possessed weapons of mass destruction. He did not. His army collapsed faster than ever before. His ministers fled. His statues were pulled down as cameras rolled. Saddam Hussein disappeared. For months, he was a ghost, until December 13, 2003, when American soldiers found him hiding in a small underground hole near his hometown. Bearded, disheveled, defeated. When asked his name, he replied calmly, "I am Saddam Hussein, president of Iraq." Even then, he clung to the title. Trial, death, and legacy. Saddam was put on trial by the new Iraqi government. He mocked the court, shouted insults, and refused to show remorse. To the end, he believed history would vindicate him. In 2006, he was executed by hanging. The video leaked. The world watched as one of the most feared men of the 20th century died not on a battlefield, but on a gallows. The unbelievable truth. Saddam Hussein's story is unbelievable not because he was born powerful, but because he created power from fear. He rose from poverty to presidency, from abused child to dictator, from revolutionary to tyrant. He modernized a nation and destroyed it. He inspired loyalty and unimaginable suffering. To some Iraqis, he remains a symbol of strength. To others, a monster. To history, he is a warning that absolute power does not just corrupt, it consumes.